So we touched on it a little bit, but I definitely wanted to talk to you about the Stop Internet Sexual Exploitation Act, SSIA, that is working its way through Congress right now. What do we need to know about the supposed problem here and the solution that's being proposed through this bill?
So the problem is kind of a largely imaginary one. The problem, SSIA, to explain, it stands for the Stop Internet Sexual Exploitation Act. This is the little sister to SESTA and FOSTA, the Stop... What was SESTA? Oh God, there's too many acronyms. Too many acronyms. Another one was like a Stop Sexual Exploitation Trafficking Act. That was SESTA. There we go. It's ridiculous. The problem is that there is no ability to legislate sex trafficking out of existence. The only way that we can legislate it out of existence is by legislating sex work into existence. And this is seeking to do exactly the opposite of that. It is seeking to further endanger sex workers, push them underground, and it's requiring websites to obtain further information from sex workers, which frankly speaking could be used against us. It could be exploited, it could be hacked, it could be made public, which sounds paranoid, but has already happened before on countless occasions. We know that the more documentation that's collected on sex workers, it doesn't actually protect sex workers, it furthers endangers sex workers. Not to mention the fact that cracking down and putting further limitations and barriers to accessing sex work on the internet doesn't help anybody. It just endangers sex workers, and it actually pushes genuine sex trafficking victims further and further underground, so this way we can never find them to help them.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we're already seeing ripples of this just as it is proposed, and seeing the mass deletion on Pornhub and some of these other things that are going on. I'm curious about what you sort of see, or what sex worker and advocacy groups are saying will happen next if this does pass.
The concern is that we will essentially get censored off of the internet. There will be so much red tape to having sex workers on a platform that more and more places are going to just simply kick sex workers to the curb, much in the same way that Tumblr did. Tumblr had a very thriving adult community, incredibly prolific, all over the place in terms of different niches, and those communities were utterly decimated and destroyed just as soon as Tumblr decided to just kick them to the curb. But we're not talking about internet communities here. We're talking about people's livelihoods. We're talking about people's careers and their ability to put food on the table. That's what we're looking at destroying now. And suddenly it gets real and it gets personal and it endangers so many people.
It strikes me that any other small business community being impacted this heavily by the government would be the poster child for the small government Republicans. No, like this would be the issue that they went to bat for over and over again if it was literally anything else.
Literally anything else. Anything else under the sun would have better luck than sex work. And it's just so unfortunate because sex work is no less of a worthy cause. And if anything, it's shown its value throughout history to the societies that choose to have sex work within them. We know that it benefits communities. It covers something like 30% of Lyon County's discretionary funds, especially in a time right now where we are once again, as a country, hurting for money real bad. Imagine if we responded to the pandemic with increased legalization and taxes on sex work and marijuana. And while we're at it, let's just decriminalize all sorts of things. I mean, we could really make tremendous headway in a short period of time and recoup a lot of the taxation dollars that we desperately need in order to fuel our economy and give it a boost.
Yeah, so as this is working its way through Congress, what should any of us listening be doing to have an impact here?
Call your senators and your congressmen, make them aware of this, and let them know that you do not support this. It is highly problematic. It further endangers sex workers. And at the same time, please take the time to educate them on the dangers of SESTA and FOSTA and encourage them to vote against those measures the next time that they appear in court. Because it's not just about laying the foundational work for one issue. Make it a two-punch blow. Cover both issues in one letter. Do twice the work in one, because it will definitely pay off in the long term. The more allies that we can win across the government, the better. Now, of course, the best thing, greatest thing that anybody listening could do is get involved in your local politics at any level. At any level at all whatsoever. City Congress, run for a council position, run to be the dog catcher, get involved with politics, start working your way up through the ranks, because if we want real change, we have to be the change. If we're going to get this former generation out of office and start filling it with more progressive, forward-thinking minds, well, guess what? That's all of us. That's everybody listening, everyone having these conversations. Just don't have the conversations. Walk the walk too. Do the politics. Shoot, if I could get involved with politics, I would. But I'm kind of a sex worker, so that's a gigantic strike against me. But I will support the crap out of anyone else who does want to get involved with politics. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so call your representatives, talk to them about the Stop Internet Sexual Exploitation Act, about SESTA FOSTA. You know, if they're interested, walk them through what a medical fetish is, or like how doggy style works, or any of those pieces.
Hold their hand a little bit. It's a-okay.
So I've got a quick question for you, and then I do know that we do have another caller on the line that I'd love to get to.
Please.
This is something that I experienced back in 2020. I think it was 2020. Were the Democratic primaries in 2020? I don't remember.
Were they?
Jesus Christ, who remembers? 2020 part 2?
Anyway, no, it was 2019. In 2019, thank goodness, I was at a Warren rally, and the very last person to come up and ask a question was a reporter who was asking about SESTA FOSTA and what Warren's stance on it was. And for me, she didn't give a good answer, right? She was very kind of, tiptoe around it, kind of dismissive, and also admitted that she didn't know very much about it. And then literally maybe like a week or two later, I follow her on Twitter, and she had tweeted, "I just researched SESTA FOSTA. This is horrible. I don't support this. Here's why." And she actually did show that process of kind of, being educated, being willing to do that research and turning around on the subject, at least substantially, if not, completely. And I'm wondering, am I understanding that correctly? Is there in the sex work industry with your coworkers, was that something that you guys noticed? Is that kind of the direction we should be trying to push? Just kind of slowly educating through asking those questions and going to these rallies and being present.
Yes, and yes, and yes, 100 times over. We need to talk about sex workers positively in a non-stigmatized way. We need to ask the hard questions and expect answers. We need to follow up if we don't get satisfactory answers. But most importantly, we cannot make enemies of potential allies. We need to win people over, not attack people for being uneducated. If someone says they don't know, we don't slam them for not knowing. We provide them the tools to educate themselves with. We have to be both advocate and ally. We have to handhold as many people through this process, this unlearning of sex stigma, if we are going to win the long-term battle.